Hello, my name is Colin Maehler, and today I'll be presenting the history of dreaming. Have you ever wondered why we dream, or how we dream, maybe the meaning behind your dreams? In a given night, we'll spend 1 to 2 hours dreaming. And if you add that up, that's 6 years of our life is spent dreaming. An inevitable process, something that occurs whether or not we want it to. And so why is it important that I talk about dreaming or how we dream? The National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke say about 60 million Americans are affected by sleeping disorders. And $16 billion is spent annually to treat or prevent these disorders. But a lot of these treatments are unsuccessful. And so in order to progress as a species, humans must first better understand themselves. And since dreaming is an inevitable process that occurs during sleep, and we must sleep and eat to live, if we advance our knowledge about dreaming, then this will answer questions about serious abnormalities and disorders and diseases within the brain and body. And so with this in mind, the reality that researchers don't know a whole lot about dreaming and can't answer these questions that proposed before, don't know why or how we dream, is bewildering. And so today, after spending a whole semester studying dreaming and reading every article about dreaming, along with my fascination for the subject, I have found out that dreaming is a two-step process. Researchers have found out that there are 2 steps necessary in order for a dream to occur. And so today, I will define what a dream is, and I will place it into the context of sleep, and then what were the initial theories of dreaming, and what are these 2 steps necessary for a dream to take place. And with this in mind, what is a dream? And in a paper written by Maehler in the 1970s, who's the godfather essentially of dreaming in the past 100 years, he says that dreaming is a self-report of a periodic mental experience which is characterized by visual images and/or cognitive thoughts that may or may not be fragmented, and by a delusional acceptance of these phenomena as real at the time that they occur. Now, I know it's a juicy definition, but dreaming is a complicated process. Do we dream if we don't remember it? Are dreams, only when we can, or lucid? They can be fragmented, they can be story-like. The dreams come in so many shapes and sizes, and this definition really encapsulates, all dreams into one definition. And so, but before I can talk about dreams, I gotta talk about sleep, because dreams occur during sleep. And after reading a paper by Dada, I think published in 2010, which kind of sums up, the process of sleep, I know that there is 5 stages of sleep. The first 4 stages of sleep, stages 1 through 4, are known as non-REM. Stage 5 is known as REM, which I'm sure many of you have heard. I'll touch on that a little bit later. And we cycle through these stages about 4 to 6 times in a night. And these cycles last 90 to 100 minutes. And as you see below, I have what a cycle looks like. Move through stage 1 through stage 4, and eventually move back up to stage 2, then REM sleep, and stage 2. But this is great. What does this tell us about dreaming? And so if we can find out when dreaming takes place during sleeping, this will help reveal a lot about the process of dreaming. Does it occur at stage 1? Does it occur in REM sleep? And so these theories of dreaming will help to answer those questions. And with that, in the paper written by Maehler in the 1970s, he compare and contrasts Freud's model of dreaming, the first model, with his model, which is the semi-contemporary model. And Freud says, and in 1890, he says that dreams are hallucinations representing a person's desires. What he means by that is, at work I can think about, I really want to go to Hawaii. I'd love to go, but I know I can't financially afford it, and I can't take time off work. So I'm going to suppress that thought. I'm not going to think about it all day while I'm working. So Freud says we have these desires that linger throughout our body throughout the day, and when we go to bed, that these desires seep into our mind because the walls of our mind kind of like our mind, self-defense lets go, and these desires are able to crawl into our mind and produce these hallucinations. And these hallucinations are our dreams. And the dreams, Freud says, are actually of the things that we want, of what we desire. And so I'm not going to go into the meaning of dreams because I don't know enough about that, and researchers in general don't. And it's a totally different topic. But this theory holds up for about 80 years of how it is we dream, or why we dream. And then the activation synthesis model theory of dreaming says, okay, Freud, that's great, but there has to be a physiological explanation, not a psychological one. There must be something that goes on in the brain that lets us know, that produces these dreams. And so what Mark Harley says, who proposed this model, is that dreams are exclusive to REM sleep. So if we know how REM sleep happens, we know how dreams happen. Well, this holds up for a little bit, but researchers find out, recently that this isn't true. And in a paper written by Reisner, who kind of, 2014, sums up, the process of dreaming, that, dreams can actually take place during non-REM sleep and during REM sleep. They're not exclusive to either stage of sleep, and it's its own process. So dreaming is a separate process within sleep. So, well then, how do we dream? So now I'm going to tell you the 2 steps necessary for us to have a dream. So what are these 2 steps? There must be brain activation, and then there must be the signal from the middle of the brain to the front of the brain. And if you have those 2 things, then you can have a dream. And so, in a paper written by Nielsen, proposes, that there's a signal sent from, signal sent from the brain stem to the middle of the brain that activates the whole brain. And so why dreams feel so real is because your brain is actually behaving as if it were awake, but you're asleep. So it's confusing. And so when your brain is in this awake-like state, then you can proceed to have a dream. And that's why, you have the same feelings of when you're awake, the sense of smell, touch, hearing, all these things occur during a dream because your brain is actually, acting like it is awake. And so if you can have this first step happen, which ignore this, this down here, I'm not going to get into that for simplicity's sake. But if you can have this happen, then what Sloan says in his paper is that you have the signal from the middle of the brain sent to the front of the brain, dopamine signal, then you can have a dream. And so if your brain is awake and you have this signal that takes place, then you'll produce a dream. And so they don't know what causes this signal to happen, but those 2 things are fundamental to every dream. And obviously, different parts of the brain will be involved if, depending on the type of dream, depending on the stage, the length, etc. But those are the 2 fundamental things that must occur for a dream to take place. And so today I've defined what is a dream, why it's important we study dreams, placed it into the context of sleep, a little bit about the sleeping process. And I told you about the initial theories of dreaming. But most importantly, I talked about what we know about dreaming up until this point. And the 2 stages or steps necessary in order for us to have a dream. And so with that, you can go to bed tonight and you may not know the meaning behind your dreams, but at least you'll know, how it is that you can have a dream. And so with that, I'll conclude my presentation and thank you.